Good afternoon. I first met Gyo back in 1962, just out of grad school, and I came to interview for a job. And I was so attracted to Gyo. As all of you know, Gyo was a man of very few words, actually, but they were all really important. And I was just mesmerized by his intensity, his idea about how to work and how to be helpful in our culture. And so I decided, happily for me, very happily for me, to come and work for HOK. And then right after, I started in July '62, and some of you will remember in September, I believe it was, of 1962, the centerfold of Life magazine, the centerfold was the Priory, this great building. And of course, that sent HOK off like a rocket. It was, oh man, I came to the really right place, and that was a big understatement. Gyo, so much to his credit, and so much that we can learn from him, really focused on his projects and his clients. As you, several of you said before, he was certainly, as far as I know, the best listener in the world. And he not only listened to the words, but he listened to the body language. He just wanted to really understand. It's a thing that I wish other American architects, other great American architects would follow, but they don't always. So I'm gonna start with Gyo's work. I think his work and his clients were the most important, and I think he'd be happy to talk about that. You know, his work was so varied. Of course, I'll start with the Priory, since we're here, and then also quite important was the Community of Christ Temple in Independence, really important religious buildings. And then, of course, Gyo was heavily involved in airports, starting with Lambert all those years ago, the original Lambert, that great simple shell, it's fantastic. And then on with DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth, on with King Khalid Airport in Riyadh, a real triumph, simple. And then Gyo, as you very well know, was quite involved in museums, interestingly enough. And of course, thankful to all of us in the United States, Gyo got to design and did design the National Air and Space Museum in Washington. It's a fantastically simple, quintessential Gyo Obata building. Simple, clear, direct light, nothing extra. It was really terrific. And then there were other museums too, like the Lincoln Presidential Library, and a wonderful much smaller building, the Japanese American National Museum in Los Angeles. Small, really Gyo, very zen, simple, beautiful, and worked quite well. And then Gyo was very active in education. You know, I'm sure you know, he did the design, the King Saud University in Riyadh, excuse me, and the library, the new library at Stanford. And then not only was he working on these big and important name projects, but I was really taken with his work on Bristol School in Webster Groves. So Obata, so simple, so beautiful, nothing extra, spare, clean, helpful. Gyo was involved heavily in retail. Of course, here in St. Louis, all the folks who live in St. Louis can enjoy the Union Station, turning that into a shopping mecca. And then, of course, if you haven't been there, there's the Galleria in Houston. The Galleria is just a great place. You know, that came about in a funny kind of way. First, HOK, primarily Gyo, got the commission to design the Neiman Marcus store, which was at the end of that beautiful mall. But we got that job for a reason having to do directly with Gyo. As you know, Gyo had a tremendous work ethic. He worked, and then when he played, he played. And he believed, and we all did, because we we did what Gyo thought we should do. We all worked on Saturdays, and one Saturday, Gyo got a call Saturday like at 11 o'clock from Stanley Marcus and said, wanted to talk to him about the department store. And of course, you know, the rest is history. Gyo designed that beautiful store. But Marcus said he purposely called on Saturday morning because he didn't want some 9-to-5 architect. He wanted some architect who really worked hard and put their life into it. So a lot on retail. Now, Gyo was very active in corporate buildings. As some of you may know, I'm from San Francisco, and Gyo led the design for Levi Strauss World Headquarters there. He did here the Boeing Leadership Center. In New Jersey, the Bristol-Myers Squibb Headquarters. And here in Clayton, Centene. You know, Gyo was working on Centene in his mid-90s. Now, talk about a work ethic. Now, there's a work ethic. And then Gyo designed this incredibly interesting, completely new idea for a courthouse, Thomas Ingleton, courthouse in downtown St. Louis. You know, that idea of having really nice, tall courthouse rooms and not wasting space. You know, as I'm going to talk about more, Gyo was a don't waste time, don't waste dollars kind of person. And then Gyo was very active in healthcare. Washington University School of Medicine Learning and Teaching Center, a huge hospital expansion at Duke University, and on and on. He really went through all these things, and those of us who were fortunate enough to be a part of the HOK family really profited so much from Gyo's broad interest in designing anything. Tell me if it's an inexpensive budget, if it's better, that's fine. We're going to take you at face value and we're going to design for you. And the architectural profession really profited from him. So now that's his work. It's the heart of everything, and we've profited so much from it. But there are many other important, very important parts of Gyo that you might not be quite so aware of, some of you. He was extremely good at attracting and nurturing important people at HOK. He hired and nurtured all along Jerry Sinkoff and Patrick McLamey and Bill Helmuth and many, many others, all of those who came to be leaders at HOK. Unfortunately, Jerry has some health problems and couldn't be here today. And unfortunately, Bill Helmuth has just found out he has COVID and also couldn't be here today. But Gyo infused in them this idea of leading in a simple, straightforward manner, and it's been terrific for HOK. He told Patrick, when he was hiring Patrick, he said, now Patrick, people called him Pat then, he said, now Pat, we're going places. HOK is going places. And man, was that an understatement. I mean, you know, you couldn't have dreamed HOK where it went and is. I want to talk about Gyo's courage. There was a lot and a lot of facets to it, and it was really important to our family culture. He designed in new and innovative directions, like this great chapel, like Lambert, which was unheard of in airports at that time, and so many others. And that innovation and the courage to imitate and not be worried about it made HOK what it is today. And there's another side of Gyo's courage some of you might not know, but it's a really important part of our dear HOK family. He had the courage to terminate folks who had come to be fairly important leaders, but who just didn't fit this culture, who were self-centered and not focused on clients and not focused on helping other people. And he said, you're out of here. And it was a courageous thing to do, and it meant everything to HOK going on. Now, Gyo was great at leadership and great at confidence. You know, he focused on us to please focus on our clients, focus on their projects, solve their problems, not our problems. And of course it was and I think Gyo felt that firsthand, the right thing to do. And then, by the way, it turned out to be very good business. Gyo was an interesting man, and he was quite self-confident. I want to read a quote of his from the American Architecture publication. "I have just as much ego as anybody else, but I really understand what I'm doing and get a lot from listening in quotes. In the end, I get everything I want as far as personal gratification goes because I get to do the kind of design I really think ought to be done." Gyo called that ego, I call that confidence. Now, Gyo was competitive. As those of you who may remember when we would have HOK sports, tag football or playing tennis or whatever, Gyo was out there really working on it. But he was competitive in a different way. As some of you know, I'm from San Francisco, and the Levi Strauss project almost didn't happen for HOK. The owner, who Gyo come to be good friends with, like he did with a lot of clients, was getting ready to pick somebody else, and Gyo, in this competitive nature, called him and he said, "Gerson, why don't we do a competition? Let us both show you our thoughts." And those of you who are familiar with Levi said the rest is history. It worked out. It got published a lot. We had a happy client. It was a great thing. Gyo was a connector to people. It was always amazed me. I think it was because of his personality, because of his listening personality, the way he connected with clients. He listened so carefully, and he wanted to make sure their design was helpful to them. What a concept for American architects. Once we had a big leadership, HOK had a big leadership conference in Puerto Vallarta, and as luck would have it, I got to interview Gyo for the last event, and I had dinner with Gyo before, and I said, "Now, Gyo, please don't give me these yes and no answers to the questions I have. These, very short, not terse, but just concise. Because if you do, I've got some very embarrassing questions for you. So please expand on the questions I ask." And he did. And I asked him, I said, "Who was your best client?" And of course, he gave a very tactful answer. I don't remember exactly what he said. And I said, "And Gyo, who was your worst client?" Guess what he said? He said, "I didn't have one." He said, "If you listen carefully and you try to understand them, they're all good." And there's so much to learn from that. Architects are consumed, so many architects are consumed with ego, and this idea of that just has soaked through the HOK culture and helped to make it what it is today. I want to talk about the environment. HOK, as you probably know, is very well known for environmental work, but it started with Gyo. And Gyo and his friendship with Peter Raven. And Gyo invited Peter Raven to come and speak with us. And Raven was quite compelling, and Gyo really got into wanting us to think environmental. And one thing led to another, and then the book, and on, and then finally, not finally, but in the latter part, HOK got interviewed for Kaus University in Saudi, and along with a bunch of other big-name American architects. But HOK was chosen primarily, I think, because of our interest, Gyo's original push on thinking about the environment. Now, Gyo was he's such a well-known, a really great American success story architect. At the same time, he was a very simple, thoughtful man, nice, down-to-earth, considerate. In the restroom, if you walked in the restroom with Gyo and there was some trash on the floor, he'd pick it up. Once when the King Saud University chancellor was in town, they talked on meetings, and as the story goes, finally after a day or so, Gyo said, please call me Gyo. And the chancellor said, please call me Your Excellency. Gyo, for those of you who know Jerry Sinkoff, who can't be here today, Jerry was, a long time ago, was in a serious automobile accident. And among the very first people in the hospital to see Jerry, because he nurtured these HOK folks, was Gyo. And he not only saw Jerry, but he wanted to make sure he had the right medical care, and Gyo knew doctors everywhere, and Gyo cared about the family, the HOK family. I think that was always quite evident in what he did. Now, a side that's so important to us is Gyo was frugal, really quite frugal. I'll tell you a couple of stories about that. One is, this is a story Bill Helmuth told. He said when he came to interview with Gyo, no, he was working here, and then Gyo came by one day and he said, Bill, let's go to lunch. And they went to a place, a little cafe, I think it was Odorisi's in downtown St. Louis, and the waitress came up and Gyo said, separate checks, please. And Bill Helmuth had been used to owners, who were just thinking they were the most important people in the world and going to restaurants with long wine lists and on. And here's Gyo at Odorisi's with Bill. It's a wonderful story. When I started, my first business travel trip was with Gyo on the first Air Museum, which was not the one built. The second one was the one built, which Jerry Sinkoff worked on with Gyo. But on the first one, Gyo and I shared hotel room because Gyo said, and we all did exactly what Gyo said, we don't waste. We don't waste time, we don't waste money, we don't waste. And we didn't. And it's a real quality. So now let's come to the legacy of Gyo. There's such a legacy. I'm going to quote Bill Helmuth here. Bill said, Gyo originated the HOK design culture and gave us a humility and a humanity in everything we do. I think that really sums it up. As I was just mentioning to Mary just a few minutes ago, I had a chance 3 or 4 years ago to have lunch with Mary and Gyo, and I had a chance, excuse me, to look him right in the eye. Gyo, you mean everything to me. You made my profession. You made this office. I am so, so grateful. I am in awe of Gyo. I'm in awe of his work ethic. I'm in awe of his projects. I'm in awe of his leadership and his philosophy. In my opinion, his work ethic and all of those things are the core of the HOK I so dearly love.